Hi everyone, my name is Natalie. Today I wanted to do my retrospective and reading goals video for 2024. So I think I will not spend too much time talking about my reading goals for 2023 because I didn't actually work on them very much. I looked back on the reading goals video that I've done for 2023 and realized that only one of them I had actively worked on for most of the year, at least I've had on my mind and in the back of my head as I've been reading throughout the year. So let's just go quickly through the 2023 goals and how they went, and some general stats and thoughts about 2023 before we go on into the new reading goals for next year. So the reading goals that I'd set out for 2023 were to read more Japanese literature, to read more books from certain authors. All of the authors, I'd done an entire video talking about these authors. Most of them I'd read at least one book by. Some of them I'd read more than one book by, but wanted to read more from them. And I think I even had a few that I'd never read before. So this is a concept that I've done at least once before and that I enjoy, but that as I said, I didn't work very actively on that. And then another goal I had for 2023 was to read all of the books that I buy within the year. All of these three goals I had kind of worked on in the beginning of the year, maybe in January, slightly in February, but then pretty much ignored after that. And that's not to say that any of these things are not things that I could potentially work on going forward. The TBR thing I will get back to, but Japanese literature and reading certain authors, I think both of them were two structured reading goals for this year because my reading has been very scattered and kind of snippets here and there. It didn't really work out with what I really wanted to do, which was to mood read and to read whatever I was in the mood to read whenever I had time to read. So as I said, the structured goals did not work for how my reading year ended up being this year. And the last goal I had for 2023 was to read more books in Swedish. It is something that I have done this year and that I continue to work on. I think I probably had like 20% read books in Swedish in 2022, and this year I had about 25%, so a slight increase, and it's something that I will be carrying over for 2024 as well. So it's something that is important to me because, of course, Swedish is my first language, and it has not been a natural thing for me for most of my life since my teenage years. I've been primarily reading in English, so both in terms of discovering new authors that I want to read and to have the inclination to read Swedish translations, especially from Scandinavian authors, is something that I have to actively think of doing. And so just creating that habit is something that I've been trying to do in the last few years and that I will continue to want to work towards. So it's the only goal, like I said, that I've actually worked on this year and that I also will be carrying over in 2024. I would say that this year in general has been a bit scattered in terms of my reading. I've been having periods of time when I've been reading more intensely and in larger volume, and then bigger parts of the year I have not been reading very regularly, and because of that my overall reading year has been a bit all over the place, and I think in large part it comes down to not having reading habits, not having that time to sit down every day to read, and that is again something I'm thinking about as I'm thinking about what I want to do for next year. So I will get back to that, but I think that is probably the main thing that has been the issue this year, that I haven't sat down to read in a more concentrated way much this year. I'm missing it, and I think that is what I want to focus on next year. So with that said, what have I been reading this year? I have found that I've had kind of an unofficial theme for this reading year, and that is to read queer literature. It ended up being something that I focused on that I hadn't really planned out, but that I was really drawn to when I started reading. I think I read Ace by Angela Chen, and that was the spiral that the kind of the catalyst that I needed to end up picking up much more queer authors and memoirs and some fiction. And it's been fantastic. So that is probably something I will be continuing on next year. But like I said, it wasn't anything planned. I just realized that that ended up being a theme for the year. And in the story graph, I think it's the biggest sort of category or genre that I had for the year. And one of the other popular categories or genres that I had was memoir. It's probably an overlap between those two things because I do love memoirs, and I've definitely leaned into that this year. Another theme or another area of reading that I've done a lot, especially towards the last months of the year, has been graphic novels, comics, manga, illustrated books, picture books. And I think a lot, for several years, I think that I've neglected to read these books because I don't even know why. I've often felt like I don't prioritize reading them because they're shorter and quicker reads. I end up thinking that I can kind of pick them up whenever and I will fit them in whenever, whereas I end up prioritizing reading the books that take me longer to read. Somehow that has made sense in my brain, and it doesn't make any sense, but that is probably what the kind of mentality or the kind of thinking that I've had in regard to this, and I just realized that is ridiculous. And so I've been reading quite a lot of picture books, and I've been reading the Heartstopper series, I've been rereading Nana, and I just enjoy it so much. So that is definitely something I want to continue doing. It's not a goal or anything, but it is definitely an area that I've been reading a lot in this year, and that has given me a lot of joy. So queer lit and illustrated books has been unofficial themes for 2023, and it is definitely something that has given me a lot of joy in my reading. Other than that, I think my fiction nonfiction split is about 40% nonfiction, 60% fiction. I think particularly because of the illustrated works that I mentioned, especially in the last few months of the year, I've mostly been reading fiction. I'm always reading nonfiction, but they take me longer to read at the moment because I'm doing a lot of them at the same time. So they're still being read, I just am not finishing them off as quickly. Today is the 29th of December, and up to date I've read 56 books. The moods thing in Storygraph is a bit it's looking about the same as it did last year, with a bigger portion being emotional and lighthearted, and a lesser portion being reflective in comparison to the previous years, which is probably because of the picture books and graphic novels and everything. And also I got into romance, which I've talked about in my last few videos, that I read Red, White and Royal Blue. Red, White and Royal Blue, I think. And I'm also reading One Last Stop at the moment. Definitely enjoying LGBTQ romance, so that is something I will definitely continue on with. The authors I've read most from this year is Alice Osman. As I said, I've read the Heartstopper series, and I also read Loveless, which I loved. I'll talk more about that in my catch-up wrap-up. And Ayataba, which I've been rereading Nana. Arthur Conan Doyle, I'm doing a reread of the Sherlock Holmes books. And Jhumpa Lahiri, I read 2 of her books this year as well. So yeah, I think that is the stats. It's been kind of a chaotic, all over the place reading year. We'll see what I end up finding. Like, I'm going to be doing a favorite books of the year video, and I think that video will probably give you a better indication of what I've actually been reading as well. So let's leave 2023 and go into 2024. So I have set 3 goals for myself, and they're all in certain ways. At least two of them are directly inspired by this year. So the first one is, as I mentioned, the carryover from this year. So it is to read more books in Swedish. I would like to have an even split between reading in Swedish and reading in English. That would be the ideal, but that isn't something that I think I will achieve in 2024. I think it has to be a process and something I do over time and find a balance that works for me. In particular, I just want to continue to find new authors that I'm interested in, to be acquiring them and adding them to my shelves as options, to read them and engage with them and to share them with you. It's, as I said, a process, but I'm enjoying discovering this area of literature, and it has been definitely a theme for this year that I have enjoyed doing. The second goal I have for 2024 that is directly inspired by 2023 is to read 1 hour every day. It's going to be an aim. It's not something I necessarily will hit every day, but it's the intention of sitting down in the evenings in particular to have a dedicated time to only read and not do any multitasking, not be distracted by various things, just have that time to wind down and to focus on one thing. I think the days that I have done this, it has been very helpful and good for my mental health as well, to just sit down and be present in what I'm reading. And I am reading on my commute and maybe sometimes earlier in the day as well, but I think having the evening reading is probably what I'm missing the most, and that is what I'm gonna try to create a habit of. So that is a reading goal for 2023. And the last one I have is to reread more. It's something I really enjoy doing, but I never prioritize it, and I seem to prioritize it more when I have this as an active goal. I have it in the back of my mind more, and there are several authors in particular that I would like to have focus spotlight things for. In particular, the one that comes to mind is Magda Szabo. I have enjoyed reading her books so much, and I would like to revisit several of them in 2024, so that will probably be something I do. I would really like to reread Shirley Jackson as well, so we'll see what authors or what books I end up rereading in the next year, but I think I might do a rereading list, or certain books that I would like to reread in the next year, and share that with you as well, just to have a reminder of some of the things that I'm thinking of that I would love to get to, and to revisit with fresh eyes. So those are my goals for 2023. I also wanted to mention quickly that I had the TBR goal of reading all of the books that I buy in the year went out the window very early on in this year. I've been buying more books than ever, so that has not at all been actively worked on, but I am planning to make a updated state of my TBR video where I share with you some of the stats, some of the situation going on at the moment, how it's looking, what kind of books I have on my shelves, and what books I am particularly excited to read in the near future. And I would love, if you are interested in buddy reading any of them with me, I would love to do that. Do feel free to reach out to me either through YouTube or Instagram, or Goodreads. That works as well. I'm really enjoying buddy reads, and I would love to do more of them next year as well. So I will make that video in the next few weeks, hopefully, and I am currently cataloging all of my unread books, all of my physical TBR on Storygraph. So every single book in my to read shelf there are books that I have physically that I haven't read yet. So if you see anything that you're interested in reading and want company, do feel free to reach out to me. I would love to do that. So that is my goals and some thoughts of this year and some thoughts on the next year coming. I hope you've had a fantastic holiday so far. Hope you will have a fantastic new year, and I would love to discuss any reading goals that you have. Did you have any reading goals for 2023 or anything that you are thinking of working on in the next year? Let's discuss in the comments. I hope you're having a fantastic day, and I will talk to you soon. Bye!